Red Eye Airport Gate C14. Promise on a boarding pass. I don't like airports when they're awake. I like them when they're whispering. That's why I ended up at Gate C14 with no suitcase, just a jacket and my phone turned face down in my palm like a coin I wasn't ready to spend. Back home, Micah had said, "Let's talk tomorrow," in the voice that means please stay now. In our small apartment, the thermostat clicks louder than any argument. The longer it stays quiet, the colder the room gets. I left before we learned which one of us would go adjust it. My screen had lit up on the hallway with a message from, on my work calendar, L in the way I label temptations to make them smaller. Hotel roof. Just talk. I put the phone in my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home. The red eye to Portland had 40 minutes to boarding and 10 people pretending time zones mattered. I sat under the charging bar and didn't plug anything in. Across from me, a man in a baggage handler's jacket folded a neon vest the way I fold apologies, too carefully and too late. I breathed. My name is Noah Micah, and I have a small code that works when we remember it. T means come here. You up means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't go far. Lee came back to our office with files so neat they made hesitation look like style. "Headed somewhere?" a voice asked. I looked up. A guy about my age in an airline maintenance hoodie leaned his elbow on the end of the charging shelf. "Or just waiting for the airport to decide for you." He pointed at my empty outlet. "Brave," I said, "I'm Noah." He tapped the stitched name on his chest. "Jace, I do nights. I also carry a Sharpie for situations like this." He slid a black marker from the hoodie pocket and set it beside my phone as if that completed the charging station. "I don't have a boarding pass," I said. Back of the receipt, 3-word limit. When you hit 3 words, the plane allowed to depart. I turned the paper over. "Yeah," he said, "that's why they work." "What's tonight?" I asked. "Don't win, stay," he said. "Works for nose cones, works for people." On my receipt I wrote, "Proud at breakfast." Then, smaller under it, "Touch before arguing." I folded the rectangle in half and in half again, then slid it into my left pocket with the phone. "Okay," Jace said. "You're at 3 words. Now if a plane tries to leave without you, it knows why." He took out his own pass, added a line, blue on it like cool air mattered. "I live with someone who takes the kettle down before he reaches for a point," I said, "and I keep forcing my points to climb stairs." Jace nodded. I wrote "Ask the real question" on the back of a gate map and handed it over. "That one's popular," he said. "It drives up arrivals and prevents unnecessary roof maintenance." The woman with the backpack tightened a strap and then loosened it again. My phone buzzed. "I'm on the roof," Lee wrote. I replied, "Not tonight or tomorrow. I'd like to be proud of breakfast." I stood there long enough to feel self-conscious, and then I put the phone back in my pocket without checking if she was typing. "You want to walk?" Jace asked. We walked to the dark end of the concourse overlooking the tarmac. Jace took a rubber band off his wrist and flicked it, then caught it. "One of them is called the 3 fixes. It's for planes, but you can borrow it." He ticked them off on his fingers. "And if it still rattles," I said. "Then you stop pretending that noise is bravery," he said. He looked at my pocket. "Who's waiting at home?" "Micah," I said. "We are 9 years into trying to win less. I keep messing up the scoring system." When you walk in, say, "Ask me the question that costs pride and saves time." Then let him ask it. He pulled the rubber band and snapped it into a circle. The announcer told us the flight was boarding all rows because the plane wanted a nap. Jace checked his watch. "I gotta go persuade a board engine to care," he said. He reached into his hoodie and came up with a round magnet shaped like a tiny compass. Souvenir from an exit row. It points to whatever room believes you. He handed it to me like a coin you keep even if it won't buy anything. Thanks, I said, for making gate C14 a little less random. He shrugged. Say hi to breakfast for me. He jogged toward the door with the confident despair of a person who knows how many parts keep the sky up. I wrote to Micah, at the airport, coming home with hands. Real question. He replied before I could put the phone down. Yes, tea. The kettle in my head clicked on. That old white one we never replaced had a way of making tomorrow sound like a small miracle. You can use the coin dish, she said. We get lots of people paying in words. I left stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. I liked that we were all writing manuals for future versions of ourselves who might read them. I sat behind a man who was crying so quietly he could have been breathing wrong. I didn't ask. I found my car and stuck the receipt with its small sentence under the windshield wiper. On the landing, I could already hear the kettle. Kettles have better timing than roofs. Micah was sitting on the kitchen floor with his back against the fridge, sleeves shoved to his elbows, one ankle resting on the other the way people in manuals sit when they're pictured about to fix something. I pulled the compass magnet from my pocket, stuck the receipt on the door and covered it with the compass. You want to ask the real question. His mouth did that small movement that means he's glad I saved him the warm-up. Are you lonely? Some evenings, I said. Not right now, not when you ask like this, not when the kettle outruns the reasons. He leaned his head back against the fridge. I feel useful, he said. I want to be wanted before I am useful. Okay, I said. Tonight's procedure. Touch first, argue second. We can file the report later. The kettle finished. We stood without making a speech and poured water on 2 bags of the tea we never remember to finish. I told him about Jace, about the Sharpie rule, about the pocket sentences that keep planes honest. I told him I had written Lee that she was a beautiful roof in a city that needed kitchens. Micah listened the way you listen to the weather report when you plan to go out anyway. In the week that followed, we practiced a small domestic ritual. When we hit an argument that threatened to become a test, one of us would say, Gate C14, and we'd both stop looking for a better skyline. I sent a photo of the compass magnet to an airport email address Jace had scrawled on the back of the lost and found folio. A week later, I returned to the airport just to walk. The way you revisit a crosswalk where you saw something almost happen and want to confirm the light works. Someone had added turn toward your name and check pressure before speed. Back home, Micah had moved the table so we could both look out the window and not interrogate the weather. Status, he asked. On board, I said, hands attached. We didn't work on being good. We worked on locating ourselves accurately. The message is less important than the act of gluing it to cold metal. If tomorrow I stumble, good men stumble, sober men do, honest ones most of all, I know the procedure. Stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. Read the pocket, not the skyline. Ask the question that costs pride and saves time. Pay for the return with a short sentence. Arriving on board with hands still impresses me. We were briefer than our fear. We were warm enough to pour tea.